Well, now, the amount of childcare for which families on benefits can claim back will increase by hundreds of pounds from the end of June under government's plans to tackle inactivity and to help grow the economy. The government will also help eligible parents cover the costs for the first month's childcare when they enter work or significantly increase their hours. Well, joining me now to discuss this is the CEO of Early Years Alliance, Neil Leitch. Neil, you're very welcome to the programme. And I know we'll talk about regulations and the relaxation of them. But in terms of the increase in funding through universal credit, that's surely something to be welcomed.
Absolutely. It is fantastic news. It's long overdue, but let's not be critical of that. It's now happening. And I think for parents who've been struggling for some time now, that as I say, it's good news for them. I think the real challenge for them might be trying to find the places, though, if they're returning to work. And that, of course, is a significantly bigger issue.
Yeah, and Neil, the other element to this package, and Claire Coutinho, the Minister, was talking about this, is that some of the regulations which apply to training for those involved in childcare have been relaxed. I would imagine you're less enthusiastic about that.
We are, because it's not about the child. This is about, dare I say, childcare, not children. And the reality is that we have seen over recent months, frankly, a race to the bottom when it comes to policies about children. They are all about getting predominantly mums back into the working environment. And of course, we understand the importance of people being able to earn a decent wage. We understand about contributing to the economy. But when you start to neglect the interests of a child and child's development, I think you've lost the plot. And it is interesting that, you have Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Ofsted, Amanda Spielman, not so long ago on the airwaves telling us that young children's development had stalled. They needed more time. They needed more support than ever. And what we're seeing is a flurry of policy proposals that talk about relaxing more ratios, devaluing, deprofessionalising the sector. And I don't think that's good. If you take the policies one by one, I'm sure, for example, the requirement for level 2 maths, we've long argued, along with lots of people, that is that really appropriate for young children? But this isn't just about one policy. This is about basically diminution of the value of the sector. And that's why we're concerned.
But Claire Coutinho, the Minister, was saying that the reason that they're bringing forward these policies is to, quote, we're knocking down barriers to recruiting and retraining because we want to get more people into the industry so that there isn't this shortfall. And I know certainly from my own experience that it is very difficult to get people to enter into this arena, into this sector. Is that not the case, Neil?
Well, piling more pressure on early years educators isn't the answer. You have to fundamentally change the system, and that is about recognising the value of what these people do. And at the moment, as I say, it seems to be about getting predominantly mums back to work. That is not about recognising them as teachers, educators, child developers. And so fundamentally, don't tinker on the edges would be our suggestion. You have to adequately fund it. You have to give a professional path for people to be recognised and valued. And then basically you'll attract people into the system. Offering £500, £600, etc., to get somebody into the sector is a very short-term objective. And the reality is government have launched all these new proposals in terms of so-called free childcare. Done it on a whim. Now they realise that they've got to basically have enough staff, enough providers to basically cope with this, and they know they will struggle.
Yeah, and Neil, isn't it the case, though, that there are some in the sector who have called for some of the regulations to be relaxed because they feel that they're too heavy on them and they find it difficult to comply with them?
Well, I wouldn't argue that some do say that, but the reality is that this is a consultation, so people will have the opportunity of airing their view. The only thing I would say is we've just come off the back of a consultation, so I use that word lightly. We came off the back of a consultation about changing the adult to child ratios, in other words, the number of children that educators could look after. And frankly, overwhelming opposition for that particular proposal. And what did government do? They ignored it. So government has no credibility when it argues that it's really going to consult with the sector. This is about, as I say, watering down the requirements so you can bring more people in, which basically undervalues the work that we do. We're not glorified babysitters. We develop young citizens. We create their future. You know, and I think we've had this conversation before, but you know how critical the early years are in forming the life chances of a child. Yeah. Why wouldn't you value that workforce? Don't play games and basically say, we have asked for it all. We've asked for more funding. We've asked for more professionalism. We haven't asked for, relaxed ratios. Let us do anything. Bring anybody into the sector. So it's a false claim, frankly.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely do believe that childcare is undervalued because it's so important to have those early years with people who actually understand the child and who are professional in what they're doing, Neil. So we definitely agree on all of that. Neil, thanks for coming on the show and for talking about this very important issue. Thank you.